Okay, so let's start. Aman, why don't you start by telling a bit about yourself?
Uh, Hey, so I recently completed my internship with IDFC First Bank as a data analytics intern. Prior to that, I also have internship experiences with firms like Futures First and NCCB and Ballabgarh, and there's an e-commerce site, LimeRoad.com. Uh,
Okay.
apart from apart from that, I have been very active during my graduation in the extracurricular activities, which were held at my college, including I was the president of the Fashion Society in the academic year 2018 to 19. I had
Mhm.
also been very active in the dramatics club of my college and the TEDx and ESL teams. Uh,
Okay. So can you talk about a bit about your intern at IDFC? What was your
so,
role exactly?
yes, my internship at IDFC basically dealt with report automation. So the reports which I had to make were on different frequencies. Like some reports had to be executed daily, some weekly, some monthly. And all these
Mhm.
reports, I created all these automated reports on SaaS EG, which is SaaS Enterprise.
Mhm.
These reports had to be used in various departments of the bank, which were lending ops, CAD department, and trade ops. So
Mhm.
all these reports were like a job card was sent to me, which had all the specifications to what all the reports do require, and then I had
Mhm.
to create a report, submit them to the business teams, and then they gave a sign off as to whether the report is meeting the expectations or not. If not, they would tell me to make the further changes in the report, and I would make the changes and then give it to them. Apart from that, I also had the work of executing these reports, apart from creating these
Okay.
reports. So there were some reports which I had to execute on a daily basis. So there were 6 to 7 reports which had daily executions, and
Mhm.
so all these executions they were always some or the other errors. So a part of my job was to resolve these errors and get the final reports on time to the business teams, so they can proceed with their daily activities.
ठीक है. ठीक है. And you have mentioned that you traded some energy instruments. Can you tell
Yes.
me what they were? What kind of futures or options?
Yeah. So at futures, first I traded only in futures, not options.
Mhm.
So these were WTI crude index,
Mhm.
and then there was the gasoline and the diesel, all on the CME exchange.
Okay.
And I was allowed to trade outright, but spreads and butterflies, all three of them. But
ठीक.
initially, after experimenting with a few outrights, I moved on to spreads, which I found was more which had stable prices. I was able to generate higher profits on spreads. They had lower volatility and much more stability. So that gave me a good experience as to how trade happens in the international markets.
Why is this? Is this your latest CV?
Yes.
Why is this certification covering? Is this your format? Like, why is this taking so much space?
This certification, yeah, this is the format provided to us by the college.
Acha. I mean, there's a lot of waste space. You can see that, right? I mean, you can shrink that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
Maybe it's the format. ठीक है. I can't see the dramatics की बात कुछ है क्या?
Dramatics, okay, पता नहीं इसमें आपको दिख नहीं रहा है, but there's ESL, netball, basketball, and baking.
अच्छा. ठीक है. So why don't you tell me what your biggest achievement in life is till now? What do you think is your biggest achievement?
My biggest achievement, I think my biggest achievement like has to be the way I've grown in the past 3 years. I was a very
Mhm.
underconfident person up till my school, up till my graduation. But then in college gave me a lot of exposure.
Mhm.
Not just to these internships and all these extracurricular activities. My friend circle, okay, so my friend circle, the peer group here has been really good, which has helped me enhance and realize my potential. And
Mhm.
I feel that I can interact with a lot more people. I'm a very confident person with good presentation skills, and I'm very confident about what I can achieve and what I can't.
Mhm.
So I try to pursue things more confidently, which has helped me achieve. various milestones career wise. Like
Mm-hmm.
I achieved I have achieved the SI summer internship, which only 11 people out of the 300 who applied for Futures First internship were able to get. Apart from that,
Okay.
I have scored a really good percentile in CAT. So all these things came with the confidence I nurtured during the course of the college, given the various
CAT results
activities.
came yesterday only, right?
Yeah,
How much did you get?
99.76.
Okay, that's good. Okay, and can you tell me like some of your major achievements in the fashion society, that some of the new things that you did, or
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. So there is so fashion society was never a big thing for the college up till 2017. So 2017 was the year 2017 was the year when we had called 2018 Pearl was the year when we had called a lot of teams from other colleges also. So there were in total of 11 teams who participated,
Mhm.
which was the highest up till then. Before that, the highest was 6 teams. So we had 11 teams participating for the competition. There were two teams from our college, Team A and Team B. I was a part of Team B, and the Team B
Mhm.
secured the runner-up position, and the Team A stood seventh. So in that pearl and that sorry in that cultural fest, I was awarded the best male model. When
ठीक
I
है.
took the reins, as the president of the
Mhm.
fashion society, I introduced a lot more events like the the freshers party, uh, uh, which there was no considerable involvement of the fashion society up till the last year. We had a major role to play in the freshers party, and we trained all the freshers participants for modeling and ramp walk, and we did that. Apart from that, we had a major role in Sanskriti, which is the cultural day of our college. Uh, besides, we also had two major competitions for Blitzkrieg, which is the college, wherein a lot of students can participate in voluntarily, and
Mhm.
they don't have to be part of any clubs. So there were a lot of events organized by Fashion Society for the first time as when I was the president of Fashion Society.
ठीक है. Just one last question. You want to get into consulting? Is that one of your preferences?
Yes, as
Is
a
there any
matter of fact,
specific reason?
I think I have a knack for solving problems,
Mhm.
and specifically business problems, because
Okay.
uh, when I entered into the field of consulting, as when I started studying about what consulting is, I thought
Mhm.
this is something I've been thinking about like all the time. Okay, once I go out on the streets in the open, I see this is a business. It can do better by in like it can do better by these practices if it like does this and that,
Mhm.
so it can grow its business. I've been always thinking about this stuff, but and when I thought this is actual application, when I found out this is actual application, and that there are companies and there are firms, they're huge firms which actually make a profit out of out of just consulting businesses as to what to do and how to do. I thought it would be a great career, a great profession for me.
ठीक है. So, in consult or case interviews, your majority of the interviews, like a small bit of portion, maybe around your resumes and what your achievements are, what drives you, and what is the impact. But the majority part of the interview will be a case interview. Because I
Mhm.
mean, I'll just give you some basic feedback till whatever we have discussed now, and since you will be also targeting consult, we'll do one case. Okay, if that's
Okay,
fine with you. Okay,
great.
so general feedback on your CV. So first of all, if you're targeting consult, try and bring out impact in everything that you say. Okay. So let's say you say you are the president of fashion society. So I don't see anywhere written that how many people that you led and how many events that you conducted, or let's say you got some footfall. So try and
Mm,
quantify that impact. Okay, I mean, you can say you started many events, so try and quantify that many. I started 4 new events which were attended by more than 500 people. We were also the
Hmm.
runners up in this, and I was leading a team of 40 people, who were working
Okay.
under me. So try and
Hmm.
quantify everything. I mean, your work is good, but if you show it as an impact, that is what
Hmm.
matters in consult, rather than what you
Okay.
did. It's more about what is the impact that you created. Similarly, in
Okay.
futures first also, you can say ki, how many trades were profitable, and
Yeah,
what is the overall profit. Huh?
I've mentioned 73% profitable trade.
So that's fine. I mean, just say it. Like, I don't think you said it to
No,
me.
I didn't say.
Not everyone will look at your CV. And
Okay.
even in this IDFC first bank, so you have mentioned that 250 hours you reduced man hours.
Hmm.
So maybe you can put that in between. So the
Hmm.
overall impact of your project is you reduce the man hours, or you increase the efficiency, or you reduce the cost, whatever. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
So try and bring out some impact.
Hmm. Hmm.
The second thing I wanted to say is, I think you're telling me about yourself is good. ठीक है, बाकी तो ठीक ही था. One thing I wanted to say, if you are sitting for any firm, don't tell them that you also gave cat. ठीक है,
Okay.
you have said this in this interview because no firm would like to take someone who will go for an MBA. ठीक है.
Hmm.
So avoid
Okay.
saying that you also gave cat and you got a good percentile, because that may lead to a negative thing, because they might think ये तो MBA करने चला जाएगा 1 साल बाद या 2 साल बाद,
Hmm. Hmm.
or even now. ठीक है,
Hmm.
avoid saying that. And बाकी हाँ, ठीक है. Now you have a pen and paper.
Yeah.
We can do this. ठीक है. So I'll give you a profitability case.
Okay.
So let's say your client is a automobile manufacturing company,
Hmm.
and they are facing a reduced profitability in the past 5 years. Yeah.
Reduce profitability 5 years.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. And you need to figure out why.
Okay. So the reduced profitability is this industry wide reduced profitability, or is it
No,
just what exactly?
only we are facing this issue.
Only we are facing the issue. Uh, for in the profits, the profits are being reduced in the. Okay. So does our company manufacture parts, or uh, just the final output,
The entire automobile.
the entire automobile?
Yeah.
So we are selling the entire automobile and not just and not the parts.
No, no. It's like,
Okay.
let's say, a Maruti factory or something.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So have our costs increased
Yeah, costs have gone up.
by what percent?
We don't have any data on that, but costs have gone up.
Is it in proportion with the reduced profitability, or okay? So our revenue has gone down, or
The
has
revenues
it
have
stayed?
also gone up.
So revenues have gone down, the costs have gone up.
No, no, revenues have gone up.
Revenues have gone up and the costs have gone up. Okay.
Yeah,
So
but costs have gone up much higher.
okay. So this is a case of reduced efficiency. So
Okay.
has the do we have any data around of our competitors as to have their what specifically has caused this efficiency to go down, or how is it high in the case of, okay, so for the competitors, have the costs gone up?
So we don't have any data on competitors, but we know that competitors are profitable. Like their profits are increasing,
Their profits are increasing and
but
their
ours are
revenues,
decreasing.
but their revenues must be public data, so
I
revenues
mean,
are also going up.
their revenues are increasing, costs are pretty much same, so they are profitable.
Okay, okay. So for now, for us, okay. So industry wide the revenues are going up. That is not an issue. What's an issue is the costs are going up. So to
Mhm.
counter that, what specifically can we attribute this change to the costs are? So have our uh, is there problem in the distribution channel, or is there problem in the raw material sourcing? The costs have gone up for
Uh,
what?
What do you mean by distribution channel?
As in, are we spending a lot more money to, to transport, and are administrative costs increasing?
So I mean, you are going like very random. So first you ask distribution, then you ask administrative. Administrative is not distribution, and then you ask raw material. That is a completely different cost source.
Mhm.
So is there a structure here that you can follow? Like what is
Okay,
cost?
okay. So costs. Okay, so when we are looking at costs, so what major reason can we attribute to our cost increasing?
That you have to find out, right?
So I'm asking as a, okay. So I have to find out. Okay. So costs come from raw materials, and okay. So has the cost of our raw materials gone up?
Yeah, cost of raw material has gone up.
Is that the major source of increasing costs?
Yeah, I mean, let's say the costs are going up because of raw material cost going up. Now you need to
Okay.
figure out why is that happening.
Okay. So where are we sourcing these raw materials from?
So we have, our raw material suppliers, like different suppliers, and so not every single raw material we source from a single distributor. So like there are different kinds
Okay.
of raw material that will be required, right? Can you tell me what will be the raw materials that will be required in
For
a
automobile.
for an
So yes.
automobile?
So I feel there has to be various kinds of um, metals, plastics, and that is the base. And after that, if we are taking parts, so that is
Mhm.
different. That's different. There has to be suspension, gearbox, um, and
So you mentioned, metal that will be some aluminum or something, right?
yes, 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 yes.
And then you mentioned plastics. Plastics
Hmm.
will be used where?
Plastics will be for creating the body and the inside in the
Okay.
interiors.
Okay. What
So
else?
what else? There has to be the seat coverings, and then there will be
Okay.
hmm,
Seat
seat
covering.
covering.
Anything else?
Nothing that I can think of. So plastics will be required to cover the whole body. The whole body basically runs on alloys and metals. So okay. So is there a specific segment of raw materials? Like, are we facing increased costs for the metals or for the plastics or
Not
for
for metals and not for plastic. There are two, three other sources that you're missing out here.
okay. There can be okay, there can be the bulbs, okay, for the headlights and the backlights, glass.
Hmm.
uh
So basically, there'll be some electrical parts
yes,
like
yes, yes.
bulbs, motors,
Okay, okay.
right? Uh,
Yes,
and all these things. Then there'll
yes,
be
yes.
some glasses. Then there'll be
Hmm.
some paint also,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
Then there'll be some small parts like nuts, bolts, and all
Hmm.
these washers and all these things. So we
Hmm.
are
Hmm, hmm.
actually facing a rise in cost
Hmm.
in the small parts, like all
Okay.
these nuts, washers,
That's
and all these
washing.
things.
Okay. So
Okay.
are there any substitute or alternate suppliers for all these raw materials?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, so having figured out the problem, like, can you give me two, three recommendations? So one recommendation could be, uh, finding an alternate supplier.
Right.
Any other
Uh,
recommendation that you could think of?
okay. Are these nuts and washers especially superior in quality, and does this make a real change?
Not really.
Okay, so one has to be changing the supplier for this. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any? I don't think I can come up with any other recommendations. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I mean, one other could be, finding out substitutes for those nuts and bolts. Maybe, change the process a bit in which we could minimize the use of nuts and bolts. Maybe use weldings and all. I mean, that is
That
one of
would
the recommendation. It's not very feasible.
option.
but obviously you could say that again. So I mean, ठीक है, छोटा सा केस था. I'll tell you what you did wrong here. ठीक है. So first of all, in any case, you have to ask some questions, preliminary questions. So you just asked ki, what is the profit decline? Is there any percentage, and how long? Is this a industry wide issue? Okay. There are some other questions that you might have asked which were not relevant in this case, but they might be very relevant in other cases. First of all, where do we operate? Like, do we supply only in one state? Is it a pan India operation? What is our business? Okay. The second thing you would have asked is where do we lie in the value chain? Like, do we only manufacture or do we have our own distributors? So let's say if we have third party distributors, then the problem becomes entirely different. The problem could have been in the distribution process. Our distributors are charging a lot of, lot of money for storing and all. That could have increased the cost. But if we have our own distribution system, that problem won't come. So you should always ask the value chain, like where we lie. ठीक है. And then ठीक है, बाकी 3-4 क्वेश्चन स्टैंडर्ड होते हैं. So basically you get more idea about the problem. ठीक है. Then having said that, if the costs are increasing, you said then it's a problem of efficiency. Why did you say that?
Because industry wide the costs are not increasing, only for us the costs are increasing. So basically we are using our resources less efficiently, so it's a problem of efficiency.
But do you think this was a problem of efficiency? If the cost of our raw materials is going up, it's not a problem of efficiency, right? It's a problem of sourcing.
Sourcing.
So problem of efficiency would be we are getting the raw materials at the same price, but we are wasting them, or there are some usage issues in the machinery or something. So I mean, don't jump ahead, like single out the problem. Just don't say कि हाँ ये issue हो सकता है. Single out the problem and then suggest कि क्या हो सकता है. ठीक है. So if the costs are going up, then again you said is the administrative cost going up? Then you randomly said distributors ज़्यादा charge कर रहे हैं क्या? Then you again went to raw materials. So that's not how you solve a case. So it has to come up in a structure. ठीक है. Even let's say you took a shot in the blind and you said कि small parts, small spare parts जो भी है, whatever parts we are procuring, उसका price बढ़ रहा है क्या? That may be the right answer, but if you directly say that, it won't count. ठीक है. So you have to follow a structure, cover everything. So I mean you could have split it into cost. तो cost को split करने के 2-3 तरीके होते हैं. One is fixed cost and variable cost. ठीक है. Another way of splitting cost is by the value chain. So one will be the R&D cost, then the raw material procuring, then the processing cost, then the storage cost, and then finally packaging and distribution cost. So that is the value chain. ठीक है. So then I mean you first have to list down कि these are the costs and then I'll go one by one. ठीक है. तो if you go by the fixed cost and variable cost, then again fixed cost में जैसे आ जाएगा machine cost हो गया, utility cost हो गया, ठीक है, रेंट हो गया जो भी फैक्ट्री का रेंट है, एंड देन वेरिएबल कॉस्ट विल हैव लेबर कॉस्ट, एडवर्टाइजिंग कॉस्ट एंड रॉ मटेरियल कॉस्ट. ठीक है. एंड देन यू गो वन बाय वन कि किसी में चेंज है क्या, एंड देन यू आस्क कि हाँ ठीक है रॉ मटेरियल का कॉस्ट बढ़ रहा है, एंड देन यू लिस्ट डाउन. सो डोंट गिव अ लॉन्ड्री लिस्ट. व्हेन आई आस्क यू कि what are the raw materials that are used in a car. ठीक है. So what you should have done is you should have taken some 10-15 seconds and then come up with a list. These are the raw materials that I could think of. If it's fine if you miss something, but you should always take your time. मतलब जैसे I asked and then you said कि ठीक है aluminum होगा, ठीक है, then हो plastic भी होगा, then you said spare parts, then you said glass. So you take some time. Let me take some 10-15 seconds and then you list down whatever you could think of, and then you say I've come up with 5 major sources, raw materials that are needed in a car, and it's okay if you miss 2 or 3. The interviewer will tell you कि this is what you have missed, and then you drill down in each of them कि aluminum का price बढ़ गया है क्या, is the glass that we are procuring उसका price बढ़ा है क्या, is the spare part, and then you single out the problem. And then if I ask you for recommendation, you just say let me take some 10-15 seconds, and then you give your recommendation. So recommendation number 1, you could change your supplier of raw materials. Recommendation number 2, I mean, we can renegotiate with our current supplier. Recommendation number 3, we can look for alternates or small parts or whatever. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
get the idea, right? I mean, it's
Yes.
not about finding the problem; it's about following a process.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay. Mm. Right. I've been out of touch, so yes, I did realize I could
हाँ,
not
I
think
mean,
of
I
something.
understand वो cases practice से ही होते हैं, but you have
Yeah.
to really understand, it's not about finding the answer. It's about following a process. Now,
Process.
the process could be anything. Like you could come up with your own framework. That is fine, but
Mm-hmm.
it has to be exhaustive and it has to be step by step. Like ऐसे नहीं है कि एक किया कि हाँ ये प्रॉब्लम है क्या, अच्छा ये नहीं है तो ये है क्या, ठीक है.
Mm-hmm.
तो
Okay.
यू फॉलो प्रोसेस एंड इवेंट अगर आंसर नहीं भी आया तो चलता है.
Mm. Okay.
Cool.
Acha, just one more doubt. Okay, if I
हाँ.
apply to flow traders off campus, so any changes I should make in my resume?
फ्लो ट्रेडर्स कहाँ है, या सी, अच्छा तुम्हारा सीवी तो यार ठीक ही था. तो आई थिंक द फ्लो वाज राइट. सो फर्स्ट यू हैड योर इंटर्नशिप्स एंड ऑल, राइट,
Mm-hmm.
एंड देन यू हैड योर पीओआर. तुम्हारा कुछ वो है क्या, एनी पेपर्स और एनी टेक्निकल प्रोजेक्ट्स?
Not yet. अभी मतलब होने वाला है. Next semester I'll do two projects, two technical projects.
हाँ, तो वो अगर ऐड कर देना, क्योंकि जैसे ये जो स्पेशली जो वेरी कोर जॉब्स होते हैं ना, उसमें
Yeah.
एक्स्ट्रा करेक्ट यू कैन रिड्यूस. आई एम नॉट सेइंग कंप्लीटली रिमूव, थोड़ा सा रिड्यूस करके यू कैन ऐड एनी प्रोजेक्ट्स अबाउट फाइनेंस और समथिंग लाइक दैट. ठीक है.
But flow traders, अच्छा finance पे तो नहीं है. Finance पे तो नहीं है. But flow traders isn't a core job. It's a trading job ना. वो तो मतलब
हाँ,
screen trading के
ट्रेडिंग
लिए apply
मतलब
करते
when I say core, it's like more towards analytics and data, and rather than it's less towards business. It's more towards
हैं. हाँ.
algorithms and
Algorithms and
technical things.
okay, okay, okay.
Okay, so if you have used some language, if you have learned some language, if you have anything that shows you are very technically competent, especially in maths and algorithms, that you can
Mm-hmm.
add. बाकी जैसे फ्यूचर्स फर्स्ट को तुम ऊपर ले सकते हो,
अच्छा.
एंड ठीक है, उसमें एक और पॉइंट ऐड कर सकते हो. लाइक अभी थोड़े छोटे छोटे पॉइंट लग रहा है मेरे को. सो बेसिकली गिव मोर डिटेल्स स्पेशली ऑन योर फ्यूचर्स फर्स्ट इंटर्न. ठीक है,
Mm-hmm.
गिव मोर
Okay,
इन्फो अबाउट ट्रेडिंग.
okay,
ठीक है,
okay.
यू कैन ऐड ऑल दोस टर्म्स दैट यू मेंशनड, बटरफ्लाई और ये जो स्प्रेड्स होते
Mm-hmm.
हैं ना, डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ स्प्रेड्स,
Mm-hmm.
तो दैट यू कैन ऐड.
Okay. ठीक है. So I'll do
ठीक है.
that. चलिए.
या एनी अदर
Thank you.
क्वेश्चन यू हैव?
Yeah, actually, तो अभी okay, so जैसे MBA, I'll be sitting for the interviews in various colleges also, hopefully. So if I get the calls, so उसमें मतलब what should I मतलब was my spoken English it needs a lot of
So your
improvement, but
communication is fine. So I'll tell you, I am Calcutta only. I am a
okay.
final year student at IIM Calcutta, and मेरी भी 99.76 ही थी.
Okay.
And ठीक है, so
Hmm.
that's similar to yours only, but your speaking is fine. I think whatever calls that you get, I think 2-3 दिन में तुम्हारे वो आ जाएंगे calls. And
कैलकाटा से ही आएंगे बस और कहीं से नहीं आएंगे तो हाँ.
कैलकाटा, हाँ, मतलब मेरे को भी सिर्फ कैलकाटा से आई थी. तो इट्स अबाउट कैलकाटा से तुम्हारा एक मेंटर असाइन होगा, लाइक अ बडी और समथिंग. ठीक है.
ओके.
तो टॉक टू हिम. और काफी सारे जो होते हैं दीज कोचिंग सेंटर्स, दे कंडक्ट सम मॉक इंटरव्यूज एंड ऑल. तो इफ यू वांट यू कैन आल्सो टेक देम. मैंने नहीं लिया था क्योंकि आई वाज नॉट वेरी कीन ऑन एमबीए, बट अगर तुम्हें कीन है तो आई वुड सजेस्ट टेक इट. अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल टेक दैट. Some program of some time का होता है, preparation of interviews and all, so they will prepare you well. बाकी your spoken English is fine, there's no issue with that. So you will have to prepare some answers, why MBA, and specifically तुम्हें जैसे futures first का job है, intern है, so you will be a fresher, right? So you will have to talk more about your internships and all these things. You can what do you want to do after you do an MBA, so these kind of questions. And Calcutta में specifically freshers से तो they might also ask you some puzzles and some math questions or something like that. तो वो भी
ओके.
brush up
ओके.
करना पड़ेगा.
तो मैथ्स और पजल्स के। अच्छा भैया,
हाँ
आपका मतलब व्हाट वाज योर ग्रेजुएशन स्कोर?
यार, मेरा तो
इंटरव्यू के टाइम।
आईआईटी बॉम्बे से था एंड आई वाज 8.7, तो
ओके।
दैट रियली हेल्प मी।
हाँ, राइट राइट।
तुम्हारा आई थिंक 6 पॉइंट समथिंग है ना?
और मेरा बट इंटरव्यू के टाइम पे 7.3 हो जाएगा, 7.35, बट दैट स्टिल इज इन अ गुड स्कोर। तो हाउ
हाँ
मतलब हाउ डू आई जस्टिफाई दैट?
या तो तुम्हें यही
इंटरव्यू।
बताना पड़ेगा कि यू विल हैव टू फोकस योर इंटरव्यू मोर टुवर्ड्स योर पीओआरस एंड लीडरशिप एबिलिटीज। तो स्पेसिफिकली जैसे ये फैशन वाला चीज है ना, तो दैट इज समथिंग नॉट एवरीवन इज यू नो, इट्स नॉट, इट्स अ यूनिक पीओआर टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट। ठीक है, तो दैट यू कैन हाईलाइट। ठीक है, then so basically you'll have to highlight your PORs and extracurriculars. Somehow you have to
तो
show your diversity. तो engineers तो काफी सारे लोग engineers आते हैं, but you have an added advantage of a good POR and some extracurriculars. So you have to take the conversation away from your CGPA, and then you can always say कि, किसी पर्टिकुलर टर्म में कम थी या ओवरऑल ही तुम्हारा 6 पॉइंट समथिंग रहा है?
मेरा 5 5 5 6 6 8 8 रहा है।
हाँ, तो if they push you, then you can always ask, I improved a bit towards the end. कि स्टार्टिंग में आई फेस सम इश्यूज विद adjusting to the new environment and all, but once I got adjusted, I mean I really pushed myself hard, and तो ये बता देना कि मेरा 8 आया था एंड में, if they ask.
ओके, ठीक है। ओके, थैंक यू, थैंक्स अ लॉट।